Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So I'm back today to talk to you about my loungewear collaboration, which was a collaboration with the lovely Ruan and Tamlin from the Yorkshire Sew Girl and Sewn on the Tyne. So you may remember back in September, we were very kindly gifted some beautiful fabric from First for Fabrics, which is their new Viscose French terry range. I will link to the vlog up here somewhere if you want to go and check that out if you didn't catch it at the time, where I talked about my plans for this fabric. And yeah, or if you just want to recap. The lovely Julie, who is one of the owners of First for Fabrics, had this new range of fabric in and said to the three of us, would you like to try it out, make something up in it and see what you think? So we decided amongst the three of us that we would make the Closet Core Mile End sweater and matching Plateau Joggers. And First for Fabrics have a wide range of colours in this particular fabric, and they very rapidly sold out following our vlogs back in, I think it was mid-September. However, they have got a restock and they've also got another couple of colourways, which is black and I think it's ivory as well, which are gorgeous. So do go and check them out. And a huge thank you to Julie for gifting these fabrics to us. That is very, very kind of you. So I am back to talk to you through my version of the Mile End and the Plateau Joggers that I've made with the two fabrics that I chose, the two colourways, which is this lovely sort of khaki green and sage green colour. I made up both the sweater and the joggers. I've never made either pattern before, so I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about the pattern and also about how this fabric behaved. And I've had a good month now to be able to wear both of them, wash them, wear them, because I do wear them a lot, I can tell you that, and let you know how they're sort of wearing really, and how they fit into my life, I guess. This is actually the second time I have filmed this vlog today, because I filmed my review of this morning and edited it, ready to upload, and then when I was playing it all back, I noticed that the film was really grainy, and I think it was because I'm filming on my camera and I think the camera was just probably a little bit cloudy or something, but it was just so annoying. So I'm back after lunch to film it again, but watching the video clips through earlier, I noticed that you can probably see just a little line across the top of my sweater here, and that's because I pressed it this morning before I put it on, and you can see the yoke underneath. So if you can see a line across the top of my sweater and you're wondering what that is, it's because I've pressed it. So let me start by talking to you about the Mile End sweater, which both patterns are by Closet Core Patterns. As I mentioned, I've never made either of these patterns before, and if you can hear that, that's Piper interrupting as always. I decided to go for version B, which is a crew neck sweater with a gathered in waistband using a tie that's knotted at the front, and each of us chose a different version of this sweater to make. I made the size 8, I believe, and I did lengthen both the sweater and the sleeves by about an inch. And my only regret is that I actually lengthened this sweater. I normally lengthen every top that I make because most tops just aren't long enough for me. And I am 5'10", so that's one of the usual adjustments that I have to make to every pattern. However, in this case, I didn't need to do that, and I really wish that I hadn't, but you know, I've done it now and it's fine. And the reason I say that is because if I stand up and show you, this is the ruched tie at the front. You leave a gap in the waistband seam at the front, and then you create this tie which you pass through and knot, and then you can gather it in. Now my waist is obviously up here, and normally, because my waist is my smallest part, I prefer to wear my tops that hit me generally around the waist. I don't like tops that come down to my high hip, which now, because this has been lengthened, it generally hits me on my high hip. So I have to sort of wear it a little bit looser like so, and then you can't really see the tie. So it is my only regret that I did that, but you know, it's no big deal. So we are now heading well into autumn, and I don't know about where you are in the world, but where I am here in Yorkshire in the UK, it's pretty grim weather-wise, but it's not actually that cold yet. However, we're living through a cost of living crisis at the minute. Everybody is feeling the pinch, and not only from a monetary perspective, but we also want to be a bit more mindful about environmental issues and reducing our energy consumption. So loungewear is the kind of thing that on a day like today, where it's heavy rain outside, pretty grim, I just want to snuggle up in front of the fire, cozy and comfortable. And so this kind of outfit is one of my go-to garments that I really want to wear when I'm at home and I'm not working. And I will admit that when I started working with this fabric that is oh so soft, it is lovely and soft on the outside, and then on the reverse it has like a brushed effect to it, and it's very, very drapey because of the viscose content, and fairly lightweight in that respect, as in it's not a thick heavy jersey. And I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't be stable enough for this kind of garment, and I am pleased to say that I was really wrong about that. I absolutely love this fabric for this loungewear. I think it's absolutely perfect. The drape in it means that it doesn't sort of hang away from your body. It does fall nicely, and it just means that you can layer it up, which is great for when days get really cold. At the moment, what we're tending to find here in the UK is that the mornings and the evenings can be quite cool, and then during the day it's still warming up a fair bit. So having a few layers on means that you can remove and add layers as to how you feel according to the temperature, etc. So this kind of fabric actually works really well for loungewear, and I'm so pleased that we went for it. And I can just highly recommend this type of fabric for this type of garment. With the two colourways that I chose, I decided to do the majority of the mile end in the darker khaki colour, and then I used the lighter sage green for the sleeves, which come in a two-piece sleeve, and it does have darts at the elbow as well. And then I used the sage green for the yoke at the back as well, and also the cuffs. But I stuck with the khaki for the neckband, the front bodice piece, and also the waistband and the ties. And then the seams of the mile end come to a diagonal point to the front waistband. And because of the colour blocking choice that I made, I knew that the seams would be lost if I didn't try and highlight them in some way. So I decided to use the sage green in creating flat piping to just highlight those seams, and I'm really pleased with how that's come out. I think it looks really nice and really shows off that design feature, which just looks super nice. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. I did lengthen the sleeves by about an inch altogether, I think, and I'm really happy that I did that because it means that the sleeve length now comes just below my wrist, which is a length that I really like when I'm looking at cozy jumpers and snuggly sweaters. I just want to be enveloped in fabric and keep nice and warm, and this is a perfect length for me. And it's one thing that I always find with ready to wear jumpers, that they're never long enough in the arm for me. So being able to sew my own means that it's just great because I can make them to fit me. It's super snuggly on the inside, as I say, because it has a brushed back. This fabric is just so soft against your skin. But as I say, because it's fairly, when I say lightweight, the fabric's not light, but obviously compared to a thicker sweater jersey, it's not as thick. So it just means that, you know, you can layer it up. And I would say it probably, well, because it's a French terry, it is equivalent in weight, I would say, to your regular French terries, but because of the added viscose, it means it's got this super drapey quality to it, which is just so lovely. So instruction wise, I have made a couple of closet core patterns in the past. I think the ones that immediately spring to mind are the Calais shirt and also the Charlie kaftan. And I will say that with both those patterns, which I made earlier on in my sewing career, so to speak, I did find a couple of steps a little bit challenging, shall we say. But I don't think that's necessarily their instructions that was the problem. I think it was more the fact that I was challenging myself a bit too much compared to my level of sewing ability at the time. Whereas when I made this and the Plateau Joggers, I had no problems whatsoever with the instructions. They were very straightforward with no difficult steps really. I think this jumper I had made in about 3 hours altogether. What I would say is that the gaps in the front waistband where you leave open to insert the tie at the front on this version are probably a little bit wide for the tie that I have created out of this fabric. And I don't think that the gap is too wide. I think it's probably the fact that obviously with this fabric being a thinner fabric than your traditional heavier sweatshirt jerseys, when you create the knot in the tie to stop the tie from slipping inside the front waistband, then obviously in a fabric like this that is a thinner jersey, the knot you create is going to be smaller. So I think I just need to go back and probably just make the gap in that front waistband just a little bit smaller, because I do find that the tie quite often slips inside, so particularly when I'm putting it in the wash, and yeah, it comes out of the wash and the tie's disappeared. So yeah, I think that is probably one piece of advice I would give you if you are going to make this version of this sweater out of this fabric or a similar kind of lighter weight jersey. You do need to bear in mind that you might need to make that gap just a little bit smaller so that your tie doesn't disappear inside your waistband. What can I say? I have worn this set to death since I made it back in September. It's been washed and worn probably about 4 or 5 times by now, because it's one of those sets that as soon as it comes out of the washing machine and is dry, I just want to throw it back on. It's great for lounging around at home, and as soon as I come in from work and it's, you know, I'm not going out again, especially on these evenings that are getting dark super early now, I just want to throw something like this on and just be comfortable and cozy, and it's absolutely perfect for that. I can say this fabric washes really, really well. I have had no problems with bobbling or any problems like that at all. I don't tumble dry this fabric. I don't tend to tumble dry any of my jersey fabrics, because I think that does add to bobbling, and bobbling isn't necessarily a fault with a fabric. It just is one of the natures of jersey fabric that can happen. But obviously, to reduce the chances of that happening, I would advise that you don't tumble dry your jersey fabrics. So I tend to air dry most of my jersey fabrics anyway. I haven't tumble dried this fabric, as I say. I have just air dried it, and yeah, it dries super quick as well, which is great because it means I can wear it again and be super cozy. So moving on to the Plateau Joggers. These are a high-waisted jogger. They come in 2 versions, well, 3 versions, because you've got a pair of shorts, you've got a jogger with a cuff that is like the wristband that I've done on the Mile End, or you can do an elasticated cuff, which is the version I have done there. Great view of my foot there. So I have put buttonholes in my waistband here. It's an elasticated waistband which you stitch in 2 places to secure the elastic into the waistband so that it doesn't slip, and then you can create a couple of buttonholes to insert a tie as well. I haven't actually got around to doing that yet because I need to get a matching tie, but I know Tamlin put eyelets in hers, which actually looks really professional, and I'm kind of regretting that I didn't do that with these now, but never mind. They're made and they're absolutely fine. The Plateau Joggers have an interesting back pattern piece shape because it sort of curves around towards the front, so you don't actually have a side seam from the top here. The side seam comes from the bottom of the pocket, and the seam is actually inside the pocket here. Now, I'm not quite sure why they've done it that way. I think it's probably just a design feature to make this jogger pattern a little bit different from your standard jogger pattern. However, I'll be honest, I'm not a complete fan of it. And the reason I say that is because I find that seam, I can feel it against my body and it just feels a little bit strange, I would say, because I'm normally used to having a side seam against my body when I wear joggers. So it just feels a little bit odd, but to be honest, I don't notice it that much, and you know, it's not a big problem at the end of the day. But otherwise, I really like this jogger pattern. It's otherwise a standard jogger pattern, and again, I lengthened these by probably about 1.5 inches altogether. I think I dropped the crotch depth by about 3/4 of an inch, which between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch is usually my standard crotch depth adjustment in trousers and pants. And then I lengthened the legs by about 1.5 inches as well. And they're hitting me literally just on my ankle. So I could have probably got away with another inch, I think, but I'm happy with them. I mean, I will insert some pictures. Both myself, Ruan and Tamlin took our sets down to London with us when we went to the Knitting and Stitching show a couple of weeks ago. And we took some pictures of us wearing our loungewear, which, you know, it was great to see everybody's versions that we'd all made. I think we all look great in them and we're all really happy with them. I do know that Ruan didn't lengthen her mile end because she didn't have enough fabric because of the colour blocking options that she went with. And I think she was a little bit worried it wouldn't be long enough, but actually in reality, she's really happy with it. And as I say, my only regret is that I did lengthen mine because normally it is a standard adjustment that I need to do. But in this case, I didn't. So I think in future, when I make this again, because I probably will make this top again, I really like it. I think it's just a really nice sweater pattern that has a few nice details that you don't normally see. But I think next time I will remove that inch in length because I like my sweaters just to hit me a little bit higher so they don't hit me on practically my widest part. Yeah, but all in all, I absolutely love it. I'm so comfortable in them. This fabric is amazing. It is so, so soft. It, as I say, it washes and wears really well. I have absolutely nothing negative to say about it whatsoever. Yeah, super good. I think one of the other worries we had was that because it's quite drapey, as you can see, I mean, if I just come back a little bit, you can see how they fit a little bit more. But I think I was a little bit worried that this fabric might show up all my lumps and bumps, which it probably does a little bit. But you know, at the end of the day, this is loungewear that I'm going to wear when I am at home sewing at my sewing machine or just chilling in front of the TV. So it doesn't really matter, does it? Because let's be honest, the only person that's going to see my cellulite is Martin and the dog. So let me know what you think down below. Do go and check out Ruan and Tamlin's versions and have a look at what we've all made. Have you made the mile end yourself or the Plateau Joggers? What do you think about them if you have? Tell me about the fabric choices that you made and whether you would make them out of something like this type of fabric, because as I say, it's not a fabric that I've seen before, but I can highly recommend it. It's absolutely gorgeous to work with and I'm really, really delighted with my set. So that's all from me today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed seeing my reveal and I will be back with you really soon. Take care. Bye.